is built always brick by brick. It takes a lot of time to build a brand. Companies may spend lakhs and crores of rupees, but until the consumer, the customer, the client, the service receiver endorses your product, then only it becomes a brand. Unless you're solving a problem, you can't be in business. All the NRIs who came to India would either eat or dine at the Taj, but would come and make a pair of spectacles in Lawrence and Mayo.
There are startups, there are businesses which are 1.5 year old, 2 years old, 5 years old, which are unicorns. There are businesses which have been disrupting our lives for years now. But very few of them get a chance to survive the tough times, and it is said that tough times create strong men, and strong men create strong economies and societies worldwide. And we have seen such examples all over the world, but in India itself there are so many companies and institutions which have created a dent in our society and made our lives much more better. And that's what we are going to do. We are going to talk about the stories of the origins of these companies. I want you listeners to take a step back in time. The time is 1900s, 1947, just around the cusp of our independence. The economy was at the lowest. The society's moral was at the lowest. But there were few men and women who did not bow down, who wanted to change the tide and who wanted to make our lives better. And that's what is Tycoons all about. Welcome to Tycoons on Insightful with Epilogue. I'm Rohan Thakar, and it's a pleasure to have some of the greatest companies of our time who have stood and thrived for decades and centuries. They are an institution in themselves, and one such institution that I have the opportunity to talk to is the Director of Marketing of Lawrence and Mayo Group, Dr. Vivek Mendonsa.
Hi, hello.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show, and it's a real privilege to have you.
Thank you.
So, Lawrence and Mayo is a 147-year young company, and not old, because Dr. Vivek told me that old is for people who are phasing away, but young means we are just getting started, no matter how old that entity is. So, we often see Lawrence and Mayo as one of the biggest and the largest groups when it comes to eyewear and optics, but there's a lot more that Lawrence and Mayo also does, and they have defined and redefined the term optics and the industry of optics for us, and are doing an extensive work in everything that is related to sight and vision. So Dr. Vivek,
yes,
welcome to the show, and let's start with what was the vision for Lawrence and Mayo when it began I believe in the late 1800s?
Yes, 1877 to be precise. So we have been a multinational company with branches all over the world. The headquarters in London. Records show that we were in Shaftesbury Avenue and Chancery Street. And at the same time, an office was established in Calcutta, now called Kolkata, because the East India Company was there. And I think the founders were originally Jewish families, Lazarus and Myers. And I think the Jews have always been persecuted. They had the vision and changed the name to a more anglicized name, Lawrence and Mayo. I think keeping the same, there were two families, and they were already into multiple businesses like, watchmaking, fine jewelry, optics, and instrumentation, which was supplied in World War I as well as World War II. So, Rohan, as you rightly said, is our original tagline was first name in optics, because, optics is being used in a variety of instruments, like right from binoculars, telescopes, field glasses by the Army, Navy, by periscopes used by the Navy. So optics was used because we had our own factories then, and we still have our own factories today, processing units. where we process our own lenses and assemble our own lenses and put it together. So first name in optics has stood by us because we don't outsource anything in our company. We do everything in-house. So that ideology and philosophy has always stayed.
Wonderful.
And going back into the old history is, we have been opticians to Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Nehru, Rabindranath Tagore, J.R.D. Tata, G.D. Birla, and a lot of the people. In fact, during the Quit India movement, because we were viewed, and the original promoters started selling off their shares in right from 1945 itself. But Bahugana, in a crazy movement to create a sort of splash in the news, even took a burning torch and ran through our New Delhi office, and
which is Connaught Place.
Connaught Place. That's right. And so we have faced a lot of pressures. And at that time, you have gone back into the history. The income tax was about 400%, and duties was a huge amount to import. And this brand has been always catered to the upper crust of society, to the niche people, to the Maharajas, Maharanis, to the Englishmen, to the Anglo-Indians, to the Britishers who were here, and a lot of foreigners and international people.
You're right.
Being an international brand. So we have not been for the masses, and whoever wants to be look good and look pleasant and make a mark comes to us, because we have we've always been discerning in the type of products. In the good old days, as you want me to share the history, it was often a Maharaja would come, and the crown jewels or the color of the jewels of his reign of his royal family were used to stud the spectacle frames.
Oh, wow.
And only intellectual people, see, the jurists, solicitors wore spectacles. He started with the monocle, which was just a single lens, which was balanced between the upper eye and the cheek. And only well-learned people would use that. And all the learned people who read late into the night and spent a lot of time reading. Otherwise, spectacles was not used by the common man. So the minute you spotted a spectacles, that means you were very well read, well qualified, and you were upper crust of society.
In fact, even now, if someone is wearing a spec, it is assumed that they must be reading a lot, or they must be very studious in nature.
That's true. You brought in the fun element. I know for a fact that a lot of youngsters, because India is the youngest country in the world with the average age of 28, a lot of youngsters come to Lawrence and Mayo and buy a pair of spectacles, maybe with zero power lenses in it, to go for an interview, so that they look more serious and they look more sort of presentable. And that's the rage where contact lenses actually took off in a big way. And we have seen, we were one of the first few companies to bring in contact lenses into the country way back in 1976, and different material of contact lenses. So that gave the impetus to contact lenses. And no, I can't imagine any fashion show in India or globally without the models wearing contact lenses. You got all the colors, right, from amber, emerald, the green, blue, and all the colors possible. And it definitely is an impact which is there. And then is the sunglasses. Let me share with you a very interesting story. In 1923, when the Queen, who was reigning England at that time, usually at the Wimbledon, as soon as she entered the Queen's box or the royal box, the entire press would sort of line up to see if she's wearing a new gown or a new hat. And that particular year, 1923, she spotted a Lawrence and Mayo amulet, which was, like a sunglass, but it had a side protection also. And to obviously cut the glare. And after all, being the first lady of England, it gave her definitely an attitude where, even if she was looking from the corner of her eye, the general public or the photographers would not be able to catch her of where exactly she was looking or who she was looking at. So, and that amulet was made in Lawrence and Mayo in Bombay.
Incredible.
And it was shipped to England in 1923. So we have had huge royal patronage. So many authors, well-known authors, including Dr. Mulkraj Anand, who used to be chairman of the NCRT, National Council of Education, Research and Training. In fact, he's been was a long-standing client and customer of Lawrence Mayo. In his book Coolie, he has mentioned Lawrence and Mayo in his book itself. So Lawrence and Mayo has been written about in a lot of books, covered in a lot of movies. Our branches and retail outlets have been featured in not only in Hollywood as well as in a lot of Hindi movies too.
We have seen Lawrence and Mayo transcend to times and different trends, and has been a trendsetter, trend introducer in a lot of sense. I'm really curious that 147 is not a short time at all.
That's right.
I'm curious to know the origin story, and of course the group has been in different industries, creating jewelry, mechanisms for the army, navy.
Yes.
Optics, when it started, how did it begin? Where did it begin? How did it move to India then?
That's right. So, Rohan, as I told you, we started in London. Obviously, the people, the Jewish families have been known to be always very close knit families and choosing certain niches and making it really big. Even till today, all across the world, Jewish families are known to be doing that. And they didn't put all their eggs in one basket. You see that it's first name in optics, then it was precision engineering, mechanical engineering, and then it was spectacles and jewelry, watchmaking. So it was things, and branches were all over, because when we look in the old records, Alexander, Cairo, Singapore, Burma, Rangoon, parts of India, and all over the world it was spread. And they were very selective. Even a small city or town like Shimla was chosen to have a Lawrence and Mayo, because it had a predominance of lot of Britishers, white people there.
Right.
So I think they were very good at their marketing and spotting opportunities. They didn't look at the world, just as a big globe, but they spotted opportunities where branches could be established. Those were basically the origins of it. And then over a period of time, so the offices worldwide still exist, except they have not retained the name. My grandfather and father and his brothers realized the value of the name Lawrence and Mayo. It's an anglicized name. It has got a huge goodwill in India and many countries globally. And we also have a lot of foreigners and NRI customers. So I think the traditions of quality, value for money, and to value relationship and service, QVS as we call it in our organization, has stood the test of time.
Yeah.
147 years is a huge. We are about 3 years away from our 150th year. American Express threw up a very interesting report when they contacted us about 14-15 years ago, that they found that all the NRIs who came to India would either eat or dine at the Taj, but would come and make a pair of spectacles in Lawrence and Mayo. And they contacted us, our marketing department, and they wanted to know that how do we do it. So it is basically a lot of goodwill. We have advertised in the past in certain international magazines, flight magazines and other things like that, and that goodwill carries. And I think when you do things consistently over a period of time, let me take you back to our Dr. Dadabhai Navroji Road, which is our headquarters and a flagship store. We had a foreign optometrist and foreign ophthalmologist there. And any local Indian who dared to come into Lawrence Mayo, they have shared with us and with my father, they would go and get a hairdo done or a transformation or a makeover and then come into Lawrence Mayo. And just next to us, which we see is a very iconic building, Khadi Bhandar, was the White Way and Laidlaw building, which was like, what Zara or some top brand of the world is today, like H&M. But that's what White Way and Laidlaw was. So we were exactly next building to it, and it was a fashion house, a fashion capital. And, so we have been always iconic. Even the international brands which we house today, be it Cartier or be it Jimmy Choo, Tom Ford, all the top brands. In fact, these brands research us in Milan, in Paris, in Japan, and all over the world, in France and everywhere. And they contact us. Because obviously they do a very in-depth study about because for them a brand is everything. It's like a very
identity.
Precious child.
Yeah.
And they don't want to give their brand to any Tom, Dick and Harry or Ram, Bam and Sham. They want to be very careful who they associate it with.
Yes.
So when we say first name in optics, that was our tagline, and I'm so happy that you researched it. Is a huge thing to live up to it, and no compromise.
Absolutely. You mentioned about having strong associations and having trust built up over time. You are the third generation of the family who is running the business,
right.
And
the fourth generation
is also there.
Yes, my nephew Rajiv Tandurkar and my son Jay Mendonsa. Yes.
So I believe there's a very interesting story of how the Jews transferred the Lawrence and Mayo name to your grandfather. So
yes.
what is the history behind it?
It's not, they didn't transfer it directly. There was a gentleman called L.H. Alliston, a British industrialist who, he was a visionary, and he bought over this company from the Jews.
When was
and he
this?
ran, we don't have the exact year, but it was definitely, he had it under his control for a long time. His nephew was not really, he didn't have any son or daughter of his own, but his nephew came to India several times, but was not really interested. My grandfather worked for Mr. L.H. Alliston in Calcutta. Our family was based in Calcutta. In fact, my father and all his brothers are born in Calcutta.
Okay.
And looked after Lahore and Karachi also, because we used to have branches there and offices and factory. And when they realized the Quit India movement was coming on in a big way, so that's the time when they realized that it is better to gracefully exit the country and give it to an able successor, in which they saw Isidore Cincinnatus Mendonca, my grandfather. And right till about 1945 till about 63 is when the major shares were bought over. And 10 years later, after becoming from being an employee, an employer, to becoming the chairman of the company in 1973, he passed away. So, he was always in a suit, impeccably dressed, and carried himself. I think he learned the mannerisms from the English very well. And he also, at that time, even before social responsibility, corporate social responsibility came about, he was known, to always help the poor, take people. We have been blessed always to have a car, not one car, multiple cars in our family. Take people to church, take people to hospital, be associated with Mother Teresa. In fact, my father has got a number of postcards from Mother Teresa thanking him for, the small but regular donations he made to them, because Mother Teresa's epicenter was Kolkata.
Right.
And that's where, our family has been long engaged.
Yeah. What was your grandfather doing when the company was belonging to Mr.
So he was always, in fact, we have got the minutes book written in impeccable handwriting. I wish our accountants and finance people could write as neatly through the NAP essay. But they used to have meetings every few weeks, board meetings, and everything was been kept impeccably.
Okay.
A lot of records, so we can go back, see some of the old managers' names. There are a lot of English men's names written there. And he overall looked after the company and sort of planned it. But from 1947 till 1992, I would say have been very tough and challenging times. We started growing only in about 1979, where we put our first branch in Hyderabad or Sikandrabad, the twin city, and started growing. And then in 1984 we came to Santa Cruz, and then 1986 to Pune, and then went on, because we've always grown through our internal accruals. We are a zero debt company, and very proud of that.
Yeah. The times during that era was very different for businesses and economy as well. Like after liberalization, a lot changed.
Yes.
A lot became much easier. You mentioned there was I think
400%.
400% tax, which is much more than one can earn.
Absolutely. The duty on the import of products.
Right. Right, custom duty.
Yes.
So during that time, how was it to build a company? And like today, there is so much of benefit for entrepreneurs like myself, where there is Startup India. There are a lot of other schemes as well.
Right.
The economy is so much flourishing, and there are VCs out there. There are different financing options out there. How was the economy back then to build a business?
So it was a very tough and challenging economy. Without putting our colleagues down in the industry, a lot of them use the back channel to smuggle goods, to provide it. They could never give a cash memo. But Lawrence & Mayo encouraged manufacturing of spectacle frames with our own designs. We've had our range of spectacle frames of Lawrence & Mayo sunglasses, and encourage domestic manufacturing, and whatever we could legally import, we did it. But having a second channel or a substitute channel, because all the clients who came to Lawrence & Mayo and still do always like to have an invoice or a bill at the end of the transaction, and we have always dealt in above the board in all our transactions. So it was definitely challenging, and it was not only challenging in our sector, for all the businesses, be it even in our instrumentation division, where there was lack of technology. We deal with a lot of weather monitoring equipment, and the Institute of Meteorological Development, which is headquartered in Pune, taking our instruments, indigenous instruments, getting it passed. And they used to be very exacting, and we are grateful to all the past directors of the IMD, where they didn't want to compromise, because be it in your sun, moon and tides, we have supplied more than 86% of Lawrence & Mayo's business is with Government of India, be it say state government or central government. And we have got the reputation and never been blacklisted that whenever we take an order, we'll fulfill it in totality. Often sometimes making less money on a transaction, but giving all the service, AMC, and never seeing any equipment, just lying idle without being properly used, which means repetitive training to various service, the people using the equipment.
Right. So I would just like to go back where, optics,
yes.
Like Lawrence & Mayo is not just dealing with eyewear, but that's a major part as well. How has the industry shifted over time? What has been, a transition between different eras, if you may?
Right. So the initial time was focusing just on the arrangement of lenses and optics. Over a period of time, the chips started coming in, computer chips. And the word optics is no more being used. The new word is optoelectronics. Right.
What does that mean?
Optoelectronics is using a circuit board with chips embedded on it, which are able to talk to the optical lenses, like your mobile phone. That is how we are able to use our camera phones and take good pictures.
Right.
And store that pictures either on the phone or on the cloud. So we deal with global positioning system, GPS. And there are more than 178 satellites exactly above India, and hovering over India more than 2,000 satellites. The government realized many years ago, and I give full marks to ISRO, that we were at times borrowing data from the Chinese satellites, Baidu. And that was terrible, because whatever we were viewing or whatever we were downloading, sourcing, China knew about it. So optics has now moved into optoelectronics. Optoelectronics has further gone into geomatics now. The new buzzword is geomatics. So it is using geography measurement. So our equipment is used to measure large towns and cities in the smart city projects. 100 smart cities are being planned in India. So we are very subtle. We are below the radar. big hoardings of our name, LYNX Lawrence Mayo, are not seen, but contributing 86% of our turnover to Government of India is a huge faith.
It's very interesting that like from my lens as an entrepreneur, I can see that you have two sides, where one, Lawrence and Mayo, you're facing to consumers.
That's
on
right.
the other side, it is to business and governments.
Right.
Two very distinct categories. Of course, the center focus is optics, but on one side it is eyewear, on the other side there is instrumentation division. How different or how challenging is it to cater to each of these categories of people and entities?
I don't
and
think
to build a brand in this space.
Sure. A brand is built always brick by brick. It takes a lot of time to build a brand. Companies may spend lakhs and crores of rupees, but until the consumer, the customer, the client, the service receiver endorses your product, then only it becomes a brand. So product plus perception is my definition of brand. Product plus perception. The perception people have. So it takes a huge time to build a brand. And we see also nowadays people trying to take all sorts of shortcuts. Buying likes on social media, blocking negative feedback, blocking complaints. It doesn't sort of work. Ultimately, is the consumer the customer who spends their precious money, and they know exactly where to take their money. And people always demand after-sale service.
From the lens of a business leader, how does a company become a brand, or when does it become a brand?
I think when people command or demand your brand or by your product name or by your brand name, that's when you have arrived. Otherwise, you will remain a generic product.
You touched a very important point, and something that is very rare in today's times, that attrition rate of 0.17%. Not very easy. I think it's very incredibly difficult to achieve. What is it that you did that people are staying for so long? And
if you analyze earlier, people needed and wanted jobs.
Yes.
And they were desperate for a job. Getting a job was, getting a government job was a very secure job, because we've always paid our salaries not only before, not on time, before time. We have got a very good work ethic in our company. We don't allow employees to stay beyond the stipulated hours. We believe there is my father often says, there's a life outside the office. So please come on time and go on time. So in our headquarters, 5:30, the entire office is empty.
Okay.
Retail will continue till about 7:30. Offices across the country, they have their local timings based on the city and the state where they are working in. So very good work ethic. Then we are very fair. So earlier, before the engineering colleges and the MBA started, we spotted a lot of talent and we groomed it. We have got about 6 training centers within our company, and we are constantly, each employee goes through between 7 to 8 to up to 12 training programs a year. It could be technical product training, it could be selling skills, it could be on customer service, it could be just on attitude. We have got in-house trainers, we get a lot of external trainers. And it is we don't encourage any bureaucracy or red tape or politics in our organization. We have got something called performance pay. So you may be in the organization for a very long time, but if you're a newbie and you've really performed, you can earn more performance pay than a person who's a senior. So having best HR practices and quick redressal of the system. All my colleagues and 10 directors, they know each and every employee, not only the employee, their spouse, how many children they have, on a one-to-one basis. When I get into the car and talk to any of my drivers in any of the cities, I know their son and daughter's names. So that personal touch makes a world of difference. And I think another ideology which we have is nobody joins management directly. We have a system where you have to spend at least 8 or 9 years, 3 years in each department.
Okay.
So, called the Gasita Ram system, an example given by Mr. Vivek Mendonsa and also my brother-in-law, where you spend time in each and every department, and not just for 3 days or 3 weeks, like typical other companies where the boss's children get only spend 3 days or 3 weeks in one department and go. We spend 3 years. So, everyone is very much grounded. Let me share with you, Rohan, about 8 or 9 weeks ago, my son barged into my cabin after knocking and said, that a truck had arrived with a lot of our goods and but there were not sufficient people. So I said, I'm just removing my jacket to help him out. And then he felt embarrassed and he says, no, Papa, I will do it. And he managed it. But to see my willingness just about 9 weeks ago to take off my jacket and help a truck because it was going to be blocking traffic, that road is very narrow, shows us that we are very much into the operations and not sitting in some corner office in some ivory tower, but very much in touch with the operations and we can course correct very easily.
Yeah. You mentioned that every member from the family has to spend 9 years in each of the department. What was your story?
Yeah,
How did you begin?
I started as an errand boy or an office boy
When was this?
In Pune in 1992. And I came to Mumbai only in the year 2001 back. So right from putting the flower pots out in Lawrence Mayo Pune camp and cleaning the glass and cleaning the counters, serving water and tea to the clients and patrons, I have done everything. And including going to the courier's house and dropping the courier bag and picking it up. So once you master operations for 9 years, and we don't move away from operations. Yes, we have our management meeting, a review meeting and things like that. But our pulse is always on the business.
Wonderful. I want to ask you a few questions around, building a family business.
Yes.
For a company that has been, transcending across decades. How difficult is it to build a family business?
I think Lawrence Mayo has always been blessed with good advisors, good consultants. Mr. Raghavan was there, who was earlier with one of the directors and partners of PC Hansotia, which merged with CC Choksi and has become today Deloitte Haskins and Sells, multinational in one of the big 5 consulting companies worldwide. So Mr. Raghavan spotted the talent in me and my younger cousin brother Amitav. And at a young age, he sent us to Bangalore, to Confederation of Indian Industry, to a seminar.
Okay.
And when we entered the seminar in the 5-star hotel, we were the youngest participants, because I may have been hardly about 26 and Amitav was about 21 years of age. He's 5 years younger to me. And we had the likes of Mr. Nadir Godrej, Mr. Subaya of the Murkapa group. We had Mr. T from the TVS group and all the top business icons of India.
Yes.
Were present, and we were approximately about 75 or 80, and we spent 3 days together. And we had Professor John Ward from Howard coming down and teaching us about the nuances of family businesses and also to learn from us. And he shared something very powerful with us. In family businesses, unequal contribution but equal distribution.
Okay.
So that means that all the family directors, they get the same pay package, come what may. The minute you get into fault finding of, well, what is she doing, what is he doing, if you're giving pay depending whether that country is doing well or that region is doing well, because there are always ups and downs in business. And I think the family bond of staying together through tough times, through good times, we even currently, and I will always stay in a joint family, but I stay with my parents. I don't say that my parents stay with me, I say I stay with my parents. So being also humble, if you're not humble you will stumble, is a cardinal rule of family businesses. We have also people who serve us for many generations. And I can tell you, the Indian culture and ethos is that anyone who's well off, who's pays people's salaries on time is very revered and respected in society. So, but we carry our own bags into the office, very grounded, and these are the values which we share. These are the values which make a family business. And a lot of family businesses in India, like the Tatas, Birlas, Singhanias, and as the groups become bigger, then comes is whether to list your company or not, whether it is once corpus of funds. And then it is always best to get professional people to come in and consult, because they keep the emotion out of the business.
Right.
And there are so many cross holdings in the companies. But the minute you are willing to accommodate or compromise for another family member and make sure that everybody is happy, everybody is comfortable, then there are no problems in family business. But when there is an upmanship that, no, I'm stronger, I'm better, I'm smarter, then you put down your family members, which is hurtful and resentful. There's already so much competition in business. So why should you really have competition in the family? Your family is the people who got your back, and they will support you as long as you treat them with love and respect. Respect and recognition are the two greatest words which I have learned and mastered in the last 32 years of my career.
There's always one notion where, it is said that you should never do business with family.
No, there's no harm. If the roles are very clearly defined, and who brings what to the table, there's no harm. Because even with an outsider, we have so many joint ventures, more than 20 joint ventures across our engineering business. And it is people bringing different strengths. Someone has got the technology but doesn't have the marketing. Someone has the manufacturing but doesn't have the distribution. So even whether it's you do business with professionals or with family, ethics is the most important. Putting down the expectations and the rules of the teams and the family and the team members is very crucial. So I don't see any difference actually.
Yeah. Also, when we are creating a business that has to stand the test of time, like multiple decades now, I see that, the ones that have done it beautifully and successfully are the ones which are family businesses, because it has been within the family. They know what to do, and nobody is starting from zero. They are taking it to the next level only. What do you think about
Rohan, you've touched a very important point. See, as far as possible, business is not discussed at home.
Yeah.
But the patriarch of the family, he gets an opportunity only once in a day, maybe at the dining table, to share why his mood has been really jubilant or really great, or why he has been in a bad mood. That's the time where the ladies of the house pick up their ears and they want to know what's happening in the office. This is the time when the youngsters at the dining table, who may join the family business or may not, pick up and draw from their papa, from their dada, or from their daddy, of exactly the environment in the office. Maybe it's a large order you got, or it's a deal you strike, or a joint venture, or maybe a critical person has left, or you lost an agency of business. So this talk imbibes the spirit of entrepreneurship and wanting to join the family business. So
did it affect you as well?
Yes, it positively definitely affected me. And in fact, my father told me not to join the business for some time during college and encouraged me. I was an entrepreneur. I made thrash bags for 5 years, small, medium, large, HDP, LDP, and worked for many other companies before joining Lawrence Mayo. So I've been an employee, I've been a team member, I've been a servant, I've been an office boy. And that gave me humility to join and appreciate all the employees of our company. But coming back to your question about family businesses and this culture of, so when it is sown at an early stage, it is really good. In professional, very large corporates or MNCs, their decision making is very slow because they are following SOPs all the time. procedures. That gut feeling is not there. The market, because they have to always propose it. There are committees. There is a lot of, for one decision it can take 6 to 8 months in an MNC. I don't see it moving faster. I interact with a lot of MNCs. Whereas in a family business, between 3 days to a week, a very crucial decision can be taken. So the speed at which family businesses move is unbelievable, and that's why more than 70 or 80% of the businesses worldwide are controlled by family business. Yes, they've been corporatized to some extent. Like you take example Walmart. Sam Walton, unfortunately, his daughter died some time ago in a car accident. His son is around, but they have professionalized it. But they still have it. And then when the businesses grow very large, you have a separate family office, and then you have the separate headquarters of the business. Because family members, over a period of time, when wealth has been earned over generations, many family members, their basic needs of food, clothing, shelter are taken care of. They get into art, music, philanthropy, and many museums and many other such things, the better essence of life or the finer things of life. And they don't feel the need to come and interfere in the day-to-day operations of a running well-oiled machinery. And usually as a family member, I'm going to share something very close and intimate with you, is that you always feel, are you giving your best, or is there someone else who's not a family member, maybe better qualified, better experienced, who can do a better job? That is the time where you have to step aside as a family member and allow, for the greater glory of the organization, for the family institution to continue, allow a professional to do the job or the task at hand. But yet sitting at the bystand and watching it and seeing it, and seeing that the ethics, ethos, and what the family has set out to do continues.
Yes. One more aspect to it is, retaining that passion and making it grow bigger. It's not very easy to sustain it over a long period of time.
Rohan, I would like to just share, in our family business, we were not given specific roles.
Okay.
Right? We chose our roles based on our inherent talent. Right? So my elder sister Michelle, she's very meticulous in her work, in her documentation, and everything like that. She chose purchase, finance, and much later HR. You take example, my sister Suzanne. She was always interested in science and becoming maybe a doctor. Her husband is a doctor. She tried her hand in the instrumentation field, and then went and did a optometry in the UK at the City University, and then later worked also in Canada. I knew, though I have done my diploma in optometry, that I was passionate about marketing, about sales. So we have, based on our inherent likes, our interests, hobbies, and passion, seen and matched it to the company's goal and put in. So the management never decided. There are many of my family members, not everyone is in the business with us. Right? And there have been family members who have been in the business because of ill health or change in their lifestyle or different stages in life. They've opted out to be of the family business, and you have to have a smooth exit, which is there. So the old thinking in India that you needed to produce a son or a daughter to continue your family business doesn't really hold good in today's era at all. So only if you have that passion, and you can't really infuse that passion. My second son is taking time, whether he may join our family business or may not. It's up to him. A very good example is Mr. Harsh Mariwala.
Yes.
Neither his son nor daughter, they were in the family business, but they have opted to do their own things and are very successful in that. And I give Mr. Harsh Mariwala full marks. In fact, he's like a role model, a mentor to me. Even at this age, he carries a writing pad in his pocket, and at any seminar or conference, he will take it down and learn something and write it down. So just that thirst to learn something more, that passion to learn something more and implement it in your company.
Yes.
Sam Walton, while he was building Walmart, he used to spend most of his time in Kmart, and he was such a sharp entrepreneur. He would use the house phone of Kmart, and if he noticed the price of milk or certain groceries were lower in Kmart than in Walmart or any of his competitors, he used the house phone with no mobiles in that era, ring up Walmart headquarters or the pricing division and change the prices using his competitor's phone. So that amount of pagalpan or the junoon has to be there. And if you don't have the junoon, you should not do that. Many people don't know about the founder of McDonald's. It was started by two brothers but taken over by Ray Kroc.
Yes.
And Ray Kroc, poor guy, got divorced at the age of 83 and died in 85 because his wife couldn't tolerate him, putting his hand into garbage bins and counting of how many milkshake and how many French fry packets were there. So he had gone totally berserk and become cuckoo. And, unless you have that pagalpan or junoon, like how Dhirubhai Ambani and Mukesh Ambani has, but then only you can really not only survive but thrive your business.
Yes. Do you see that passion and obsession in the next generation of Lawrence?
I see it in a different way.
Okay.
But Rajiv has been handling our e-commerce he worked in HSBC. He's been about 12-13 years in the organization. Jay has just joined. And none of them have been forced to join the organization or pressurized. They have come in, they've chosen their own rules, they're finding their own space. But this generation will not multitask more than needed. They know their areas of specialty. They will pick those subjects and master those.
Do you think multitasking is required now?
In our era, when we were growing the business at a frantic speed, yes, multitasking was required. Today, it is again the era of super specialization, and people will do only certain tasks. I will talk about the human eye. You've got about 8 or 9 different specialties of surgeons. You've got a corneal specialist, you've got a retinal specialist, macular specialist. You got people doing only glaucoma, only cataract, even with your orthopedic. But there are people who will not deal with the whole hand, only with the wrist, with the fingers, and things like that. So it is a era of super specialty, and we have to respect that. And you can't go to, in fact, finding a general practitioner or an MBBS doctor today, it's very difficult.
Yes. What is the next step now? Like for a company like yours, I'm sure there are a lot of competitors as well. How does Lawrence and Mayo see to compete?
I don't believe we have always been different the way we have done business. We know in terms of our positioning, our styling and things like that. Competition tries to copy us. We don't try and copy the competition. And we are always surfing what's happening at the international market, bringing latest products, be it in our optics business, be in our instrumentation business. We are not resting on past laurels or past glory. We are always in the startup mode, or always attracting. We have got into cybersecurity training. We have got into drones 9.5 years ago. So we are not resting on Baba Adam's products and services, constantly contemporizing, innovating our brand and company in our offerings to the consumers of India and the worldwide market. And that keeps us basically our cutting edge, and people benchmark themselves with us and not the other way around.
What trend or key focus areas that you identify that are relevant for a company like yours to stay relevant in the next 50 years?
It's I don't think you can talk about relevance to 50 years. There was a time you could make business plans of 5 years and 3 years. Today things are changing so fast. Within 3 weeks,
yes,
there's a new trend coming out. Hollywood and Bollywood also shape a lot of where fashion is concerned. People have realized even a pair of jeans, more than 16,000 liters are wasted to make a decent pair of jeans, and that's really bad. So being environmentally sensitive, using new material which is biodegradable, end of life use. So when you make a particular part or an instrument, being responsible that you can't put it in the junkyard. How is that product going to be recycled? I think the entire 7.4 billion people in our universe have become very sensitive about leaving a better, greener and cleaner planet for the generations ahead.
Yes.
It's not only mandated by the government, but mandated by a lot of Confederation of Indian Industry. But all business houses are taking it up very seriously, not using single-use plastic and many other things, looking at packaging material. Many things like that. So being environmentally sensitive, people giving people regular breaks so that they can go deep into their bucket list, travel, deal with senior citizen, with geriatric parents at home, look at near and dear loved ones. So making the world basically based on three things of peace, love, harmony and integrity. These were the four cornerstones of what I think our company is moving towards and the world is moving towards.
Wonderful. And does it feel pressurized, or is there a sense of pressure that it's such an old company? Is there going to be a how do I make it larger than what it was before?
No, growth has been always a part of our DNA.
Yeah.
We have been growing steadily and regularly through our own internal accruals and resources. And but technology is moving very rapidly. The main thing is when you have the trust and faith of the customers, of our clients. The difference between a customer and a client is a customer may come once or twice to you, but when a person makes it a habit, when Lawrence Mayo becomes a habit, when it's in the to-do list where people before leaving their home put it that I must visit Lawrence and Mayo, that's all what we have to say about our brand. So I'm sure the generations of family members, managers and team members ahead will keep innovating, and like the oldest company in Japan is about 1500 years old. 60 generations have already served it and it will continue. I don't see any obstacle in Lawrence Mayo crossing over 1500 years.
Amazing. My last question.
Yes, Rohan.
The entire show that we have created is it's supposed to be like a note-taking or an inspiration for future businesses or aspirants of building brands that can last the test of time and thrive in the future as well. If there were 5 key points that you would like to share from your learnings of your entire family building this brand through generations, what would they be?
I would say is first invent or launch a product which solves a problem, or there's a challenge and people can't. There are so many challenges still out there in business, in our day-to-day work life. But right now we are facing a skill shortage in so many sectors. There's shortage of cybersecurity skilled people. Then once you identify it, go very deep into that basically industry. Don't do it superficially, just collaborating with people. Go deep into it, find out the nuances, the nuts and bolts of the industry. Third would be is to do it with honesty and integrity. The minute you shortchange people, I know of a lot of big business houses, they never pay their suppliers and vendors. I meet so many people and they say, no, I lost so many lakhs of rupees with so-and-so big business house in India. So that carries negativity. Always square off your accounts, see that every single vendor supplier is paid. If a client is not happy or satisfied with the product, it's better to take the product and refund the money. And lastly is to take care of the planet and to look at the globe. 213 countries. All of us are blessed with different natural resources. Some has got minerals, some has got technology, someone has got the know-how, someone has got the human talent. So these 213 countries in the world are all made to be interdependent. And right now Donald Trump is talking about make in USA or made in USA. Our Honorable Prime Minister is talking about make in India. But each country has to see what they're really good at and then make those products and services what best they can. And when you make something really good, then export it. So I think business is, as you said, rightly said, are those 5 words. Unless you're solving a problem, you can't be in business.
But then again, there are, statistically, 90% of the startups fail within 5 years. And even after 5 years, there are barely a handful of them of that, specimen sort that sustain beyond that.
So many of the startups is just looking to sell out after a period of time. I said, why should your business is like your child? How can you sell your child? Right? There is an attachment. We spend 15 to 18 hours, 12 hours in the office. So how can you sell your child? That is beyond my imagination. So you have to nourish it, you have to cherish it, you have to provide it all so that it really grows up and things like that. So this short-term view of cashing out and sitting on a pile of cash, but then what do? The minute you sell your brand, you lose your identity.
But then there is a case like Marvel, which got its identity after it got acquired by Disney and it became much bigger.
Yes, absolutely. Because then the brand was with the right resource, with a new talent which could pump in the resources. So I'm not saying selling of companies is bad, but if you can do it the best yourself, then why not? Give it your first try. But if you feel, yes, someone else can handle it. Like I give the example of Ramesh Chauhan. Ramesh Chauhan has got 4 daughters. He thought none would join his business. And he sold thumbs up to Coca-Cola. I think the biggest mistake Ramesh Chauhan made. He's a very astute businessman. I have corresponded with him and I respect him. But he made a mistake. His 4 daughters are doing amazing and are very strong entrepreneurs of India.
Yes.
So his perception that none would join and all would get married and not look after his business was a false for perception.
Yes. It's brilliant and there's so much to learn from you. And of course, we would be learning in the next 2 episodes as well in this series of Tycoons, understanding the business of Lawrence and Mayo and LYNX. Thank you so much, Dr. Vivek Mendonsa, for being on this show. And I'm sure our listeners found this conversation enriching and got to learn a thing or two from the history and the future of building businesses.
Right. Thank you very much, Jain. Namaskar.
Namaskar.